friend of the owner of this bar said that your service rate wasn't up to par, so they complained to the only one in charge of your at-will employment.
Oakland music scene when I first joined was kind of thriving because it was right after COVID. Everybody was really ready to get out into the world and really ready to like party. And there was this really awesome flourishing music scene that came out of it where people were opening up house venues, where people were doing shows every weekend, where local bands were playing all the time and bands were traveling through. There were a lot of really good house venues that were getting some really cool bands in there.
We would play in basements, parking lots, and pretty much everything in between. Mainly starting like after the pandemic, and we kind of started getting more and more serious about it.
DMing bands and saying, hey, would you guys be down to come and play in our backyard or in our living room? And thankfully a lot of them said yes and ended up coming, but a lot of it was just held up by the community.
There's something like so special about going to a show and it's just in someone's living room. I think that when there aren't as many spaces for music, there will always be these do-it-yourself spaces that people will always create the spaces for music because it is such like a human necessity.
The Pittsburgh scene is interesting because there is the Oakland music scene, which exists in Oakland and exists purely for the purely for the college scene and surrounding, though there is other DIY people that exist in it. There's not been a venue in Oakland proper for 20 years or something.
The last venue I think was the Decade.
That was probably the most famous one. Like the Red Hot Chili Peppers played at the Decade, Nirvana played at the Decade, Bruce Springsteen played there.
And that closed about 20 years ago.
So before Haven, there was about a 20-year drought of there being official music venues in Oakland, but in the time in between there were house venues. So like the live music scene has always been here, just literally underground.
Before, it was all house venues, and there was a constant risk of being shut down by cops, getting kicked out by your landlord and stuff, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we used to have a stage in our backyard, and then we got a cease and desist order from the city telling us to tear it down. We tore it down within a month to not be fined potentially thousands of dollars. We ended up moving the events inside in our living room, where we ended up jacking up the floor and making it so that basically the place wouldn't collapse because we would have a lot of people in there.
And eventually, I think just as the equipment got louder, it started becoming more of a disturbance to maybe people who weren't as excited for the music as we were, and several of the shows that we would put on would get canceled because police would come within the first set or something like that.
Any amount of circumstances where you have 50 people in your basement, a ton of things can go wrong, and they're all drunk kids and whatever. There's a lot of variables. So it wasn't often that a house venue would last more than a year or two, especially with people moving out and stuff.
And in the last couple of years, it's sort of become a little bit harder to do DIY quite the same way, but it ebbs and flows everywhere, so it's still happening.
Growing up playing those house venues and some of us running them and stuff, it was a lot of fun, but we wanted something a little more permanent than that. So that's kind of like the idea of where Haven started, at least.
Haven was founded by many members of the Oakland DIY music scene.
I think like this was sort of a natural next step within the Oakland scene, because there's a huge market of college kids that want to see shows, and so this was the choice that we had, was to start it ourselves.
I'm a co-founder of Post Genre, which is the organization that started Haven. Post Genre is kind of like all those behind the scenes people coming together to put shows on, and Post Genre is a volunteer-based organization as well. So we basically just needed to find a place where we could play music in Oakland where people couldn't shut us down. And that's a very short synopsis of how we got Haven started.
House shows are very special in their like very super DIY nature. I think that this is also very DIY because it's a lot of the same people that we're involved with and throwing house shows, but we're actually renting a space now.
They kind of walk in here and go like, this is super corporate or whatever. Everything that has happened here has happened like through the generosity of all of our volunteers. We've not had any outside funding or whatever. Everything has been us and like the friends that we happen to have and the people that like really just want to make this happen. So we've gotten super lucky to have the production value and the team that we have. It just kind of all fell into place.
Whenever we moved in, it was pretty much like, yeah, okay, we could do whatever we want in here.
We have some photos that are just kind of crazy to look at. It's completely different than the space that exists now.
We built a stage, so the stage is in the back.
So I asked people for like old furniture they weren't using anymore, or different pieces of like fabric or tapestries, posters, anything they had.
Something I love about Haven is that the upstairs level of it is super cozy, and there's even actually like a section of just like local artists and like local art and like stickers and stuff like that as well.
We're trying to get this vibe kind of everywhere throughout the building eventually.
Another way that they really curate to the South O and college student, population is the fact that they have so many different types of music and genres that perform at the venue.
We have a lot of people that come out to our live concerts where we're hosting, typically, 3 band bills, local bands, touring bands, different genres. And the DJ events are allowing us to continue to bring other events to audiences that aren't just looking for strictly bands and other types of like live performing. It's a good way for us to diversify a little bit. I think people like it.
Yeah, so since then, having a more permanent space has definitely, in my opinion, benefited the music scene here a lot. I think the house show culture definitely ebbs and flows. Sometimes there just aren't enough people willing to put up with all the bullshit of running a house venue.
House venues are very important to the Oakland music scene, and there have always been house venues, and I think right now there's one called The Station.
Yeah, like we really want it to be a spot where, people are like, oh, Friday, Saturday night, Station's having a show, like let's go, before they even know the bands, because, they have trust in that we put shows on that people like, so.
Yeah, I don't know, I think the core thing is that in this city, like you need a venue that's accessible by bus.
Yeah.
I think that there's great bands. I think The one thing I wish I could get more of was people coming out to see those bands. I think there's a lot of people who, like all the bands that come out of here, you know, Play Tonight, you know, Porter's, great metal band, and they get a lot of people coming out, but you know, that's not every band is really good. And I want to see that kind of community more so, and that's what I hope the station can, you know.
We raised like $340 fucking and like 15 fucking toys tonight. So Santa's fucking coming this year.
You know, you raise money for good causes. That's part of being in a community, and I think we all have like a real, you know, respect for community, and we want to like give back and, you know, making people have a good time, but also, you know, helping people out. Like we've done stuff with Casa San Jose, PCR, you know, like, and you know, it's all about helping out in whatever way we can.
And I think the bottom line is like we do this because we love it, and we're not gonna not do it because we don't make money off of it.
People come out for the benefits.
Yeah. People like to show up for benefits.
Support a good cause.
I mean, people love feeling like they're part of a community, and feeling like they're doing something good in the world. So.
I was told to ask about the Black Lodge floor.
Who told you to ask about that?
The Black Lodge floor, I know nothing.
The Black Lodge floor.
Yeah, I mean, God, you know, God was there where he didn't allow it to cave in. I don't believe in God, but I guess something stopped that floor from caving in, which we very appreciate. But yeah.
I can't believe I didn't mention the Black Lodge. The Black Lodge was awesome.
How can I be romantic about baseball?